Just because you're an entry-level employee, you shouldn't be asking for luxuries like vacations. I expect you to work like a horse,"
said Laura, the daughter of the CEO, belittling the employees of the company her father managed. The company is nothing without its employees. I tried to reason with her, but she wouldn't listen. Instead, she kept making more derogatory remarks about the staff. When I told her that I planned to continue contributing to the company as an ordinary employee, she became furious, her face turning red with anger.
"I agreed to this matchmaking because I heard you were a potential executive, someone who would eventually lead the company. And now you tell me you plan to remain at entry level forever. A liar. How could you deceive me like this?"
Shedding her ladylike facade, she lashed out and broke things off with me. However, the next day, she was faced with a surprising truth and found herself apologizing to me. "My name is Michael. I'm just an ordinary employee at a corporation."
Hey, don't you have any plans to get married or enter into a relationship, Michael?
Well, not really. I don't even have anyone to consider marrying. I mean, I'm not even sure if I want to get married or not.
Make up your mind.
At my ambiguous response, my classmate Steve, who was on the phone, retorted sensibly. He was getting married to his fiancée next month and had called today to discuss the arrangements.
If you keep talking like that, you'll age before you know it.
Hey, don't say scary things like that. Steve laughed heartily in response to my reply.
I'll introduce you to someone nice if I find anyone.
And that was the end of my call with Steve. I sighed without realizing it. This was the third marriage announcement I had heard from my classmates this year. I guess it's about that age, but I'm dragging my feet because I'm more focused on my career right now. Currently, I work at a company where my father's friend, Kevin, is the CEO. And my father is the CEO of a client company. Essentially, I am currently in training to eventually take over my father's company. The marriage, I wonder what it's like. Well, first, I need to find someone. That night, I fell asleep mulling over these farts. Then one day, I was summoned by my manager, Nathan. Nathan let me in and said,
"Actually, I've been consulting with Howard, the president of one of our client companies. He mentioned that he has a daughter who is of marriageable age."
"Yes, I've heard Howard mention her once." Nathan nodded at my response and continued,
"It seems his daughter is looking for a marriage partner. And he asked Kevin, 'Do you have any suitable men among your employees?' So, Kevin recommended you."
Me. Surprised by the sudden news, I see Nathan smile wryly.
"I understand it's sudden, but Kevin recommended you because you are hard-working and competent. Oh, and he hasn't specifically mentioned your father. And if you're interested, Kevin can arrange a meeting with her."
I was hesitant to accept, but thinking it was fate, I decided to go for it. Of course, work is important, but I'm not disinterested in marriage. Having seen my happy classmates, I had started to think that getting married might be nice. And things progressed quickly. I was soon set up to meet the client's daughter on the day of the arranged meeting. As we were both adults, the matchmaking was conducted just between the two of us. The name of the CEO's daughter was Laura. She was fair-skinned, graceful, and seemed like a well-bred lady, quiet and refined. After exchanging greetings, we navigated through topics like hobbies and how we like to spend our weekends in a casual manner. When the conversation turned to family, I chose not to mention that my father was a CEO. I had grown wary of people who were drawn to that background. So during this meeting, I really wanted her to see me for who I am. Laura was my age, and her hobbies included cooking. She often spent her weekends at home doing chores.
It might sound presumptuous of me, but I consider myself a homemaker. I enjoy cooking and sewing, and more than anything, I want to support my future husband so he can feel comfortable at home.
Laura spoke in a manner befitting a young lady from a respectable family, demurely stating her views. I thought to myself that if we were to become a couple, I could trust her with managing our home. I began a relationship with Laura based on the assumption we would eventually marry. However, as our relationship progressed, the once quiet and refined Laura began to change. Perhaps because she became comfortable with me, she started to make derogatory remarks about the employees at her father's company where he was the president. For instance, while talking about the company I work for, I mentioned that all employees are entitled to take a refreshment leave of about 5 days per year, a while ago. As I was just casually mentioning it as small talk, she suddenly furrowed her eyebrows and blurted out the following:
Entry-level employees are just an incompetent bunch used by others, so they shouldn't be asking for luxuries like vacations. They should work like workhorses instead.
What? Shocked by such harsh words coming from someone like Laura, I stared at her intently. Trying to keep my tone as gentle as possible, I counted. I don't know about that. After all, isn't a company nothing without its employees? Creating an environment where employees can work ambitiously and comfortably is very important to a company, I believe. Unfortunately, my point did not resonate with Laura. She snorted as if to belittle me.
Hey, you seem to forget, but I am the daughter of a president, you know? My upbringing and background are different from ordinary people. It's strange for you to say such things. How could a president's daughter understand the feelings of entry-level employees?
Laura smirked as if she had heard something amusing, her lips pursed in a hearty laugh. Her manner was refined, but her arrogance was unmistakable, and I felt increasingly uncomfortable inside. Yet, seeing me silent, Laura added more.
Michael, you will eventually become an executive in our company, so you should understand our perspective, right? Actually, it's necessary since you're marrying me, a president's daughter.
She smiled sweetly as if teaching a slow student. Her words were so presumptive that I couldn't help but interrupt. I'm sorry, but I am currently enjoying my days as an ordinary employee, and I intend to continue contributing to the company as one of its employees. At that, her face twisted awkwardly as if she had heard something unbelievable.
What do you mean?
What? Laura looked visibly pale, shocked by my words. Seeing her unusual reaction, I slightly tilted my head. But Laura, perhaps irritated by my attitude, raised her eyebrows and then her face turned red with anger.
I decided on this marriage because I was told you are a future executive candidate who would eventually take a leadership role in the company. You staying as an entry-level employee forever. A liar. How could you deceive me like this?
The refined woman who had once appeared gentle and demure now shouted at me with intense anger. It seemed she had misunderstood my words about wanting to continue striving as one of the employees. In my view, even a president is part of the company's machinery, so saying as one of the employees is not entirely wrong. But from Laura's perspective, I must have seemed like someone with no ambition or interest in advancement. Whom should I clear up this misunderstanding? However, doing so would inevitably require me to reveal more about my father. Instinctively, I felt it was too soon to share that with her. While I was contemplating, Laura seemed to have made up her mind about me.
That's enough. It seems we can't understand each other. Then let's call off our relationship. I don't think we'll meet again.
With that, she threw these words at me and brusquely walked away, her shoulders stiff with anger. To chase or not to chase? After a moment of hesitation, I chose to stay put. As I watched Laura's diminishing figure, it dawned on me. Perhaps her demeanor during our matchmaking was just a facade aimed at winning my approval from the start. Sadly, she never really saw me as an individual after all. The shock was significant given that our meeting was intended for marriage. With a heavy heart, I trudged back home. But the next day, I received a call from her. Hello. It was the day after the incident. I answered the phone with a slightly somber tone, but Laura began speaking in an unusually gentle voice, almost cajoling.
Michael, I'm glad you answered. I wanted to apologize for yesterday. I've realized I might have gone too far. So, I was wondering if you would still consider continuing our relationship?
Her tone had completely changed from the day before. How could someone who was so angry just a day ago change their mind so quickly? Puzzled, I ultimately declined her offer. I felt that her behavior the day before revealed her true feelings. Moreover, her arrogance that seeped through her words and actions was something I could not overlook. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I cannot envision a future with someone who looks down on others because of their position and judges people solely by their titles. Laura fell silent on the other end of the phone. And then, without another word, the call ended abruptly. I was upset by her selfish behavior, but at the same time, I felt relieved that this had severed our connection completely. Although I am in the same position as her, being a CEO's son, our ways of seeing and thinking were clearly incompatible from the start. Marrying someone you cannot resonate with would likely lead to a breakdown over trivial matters. It would be unfortunate for both her and me. So, I felt it was better that it ended before things went any further. However, I did feel bad for Kevin, who had recommended me. I hoped this wouldn't worsen our company's relationship. With this concern, I was soon called into the CEO's office. Expecting it to be about Laura, I decided to start the conversation. I'm sorry for causing such trouble for Kevin.
I received a protest call from Howard.
When I brought it up, Kevin calmly stated,
He said, I was told he was a promising young man, which is why I agreed to have my daughter meet him, but to end up with just an ordinary employee. I would not marry my precious daughter to such a man. It's outrageous to be deceived like this, or whatever.
Though, as I feared, the very thing I worried about had happened. I'm very sorry. Stopping my apology, Kevin asked,
What happened with Laura?
I just couldn't agree with her behavior. I explained honestly. She thought herself superior to employees, belittled ordinary workers, and judged people solely by their titles. Indeed, it was wrong of me to keep quiet about my father, but fundamentally, our ways of thinking were just too different. However, that doesn't change the fact that I've caused inconvenience to the company and Kevin. I'm terribly sorry. I apologized again, and Kevin burst out laughing heartily.
Don't worry about it. I'm sorry for acting without permission, but I mentioned to Howard that, considering your background, you're likely to inherit and assume the role of president in your father's company, rather than ours. I told him straight that no lies were told.
Kevin. I was moved by Kevin's broad-mindedness. So that's why she called earlier. Inwardly, I sighed. The ease with which she switched her attitude upon learning I was the president's son, after lashing out just because she thought I was merely an ordinary employee, thoroughly disgusted me. And it seemed Kevin had some thoughts on this as well.
Both Howard and Laura. To think they were such people. I often discuss with your father that a company where the president doesn't care for the employees will eventually fall apart.
Kevin said this with a serious look.
Such organizations crumble from the inside out.
I nodded solemnly to his profound words.
We'll have to reconsider our dealings with them going forward.
Kevin let out a deep sigh, then recomposed himself and looked at me again.
Michael, I'm really sorry for hastily getting you involved in that matchmaking situation and causing you distress.
As he tried to apologize, I quickly stopped him. Don't apologize. Actually, it was a learning experience for me.
Learning experience.
Yes. I nodded emphatically to a puzzled Kevin. A company truly thrives on its employees. I've come to realize this anew. I will continue to humbly and diligently contribute to the company as one of its workers.
I'm counting on you.
I'll do my best. What happened afterward? First, Kevin immediately stopped dealing with Howard's company as promised. Furthermore, since Howard's company also had dealings with my father's company, it seems Kevin spoke to my father, who also decided to stop their dealings shortly after. Howard was flustered. But it was too late to scramble. The damage was done. Both were major clients, and losing them caused Howard's company's performance to plummet. Employees who were already dissatisfied began resigning one after another, and without the ability to recover, the company eventually went bankrupt. What became of the CEO and his daughter afterward, I do not know. I hope somewhere they are making a fresh start. As for me, this incident cleared many things for me, and after a few more years of dedicated work, I successfully took over my father's position as president. Kevin has thanked me for contributing to the company as an employee, and now we have built a new relationship as good business partners. The company is nothing without its employees. With that philosophy, I continue to dedicate myself to my work today.